Number 8. Jessica STRACHAN. On March 30th, 2022, Devante Griffin, 28, was reported missing by his mother in Spartanburg, South Carolina. What began as the search for a missing person soon became a murder investigation when Griffin's body was discovered buried in a shallow grave close to Evans Acres. His on-again, off-again girlfriend, Jessica STRACHAN, aged 28, became a person of interest after police interviewed family members and friends. While questioning STRACHAN, she admitted her relationship with Griffin had been volatile, but denied any involvement in his murder. Noticing inconsistencies in her answers, officers determined she had been misleading in the information she had provided, and they attempted to bring her in for a second interview on March 31st, 2022. Instead, STRACHAN fled to Miami, taking Griffin's cell phone with her. Armed with an arrest warrant for obstruction of justice, the Miami Police Department was able to apprehend her a day later. She was extradited back to South Carolina and was charged with murder and possession of a deadly weapon. The presiding judge denied her request for bail, ordering her to be held in prison until and during her trial. Number 7. MORIAH Wilson. On May the 11th of 2022, 25-year-old elite cyclist MORIAH Wilson was found shot to death in her apartment in Austin, Texas. Wilson was a rising star in the community, having won the Belgian Waffle Ride in California earlier in the year. An investigation was immediately launched, with police searching for leads and potential suspects. Officers discovered that Wilson was romantically involved with fellow cyclist Colin Strickland, and the witness indicated that the pair had had plans to meet earlier that day to go for a swim. When investigators questioned Strickland, they discovered that he was currently living with his longtime girlfriend, 34-year-old Caitlin Marie Armstrong. During the interview, he stated that during a breakup in October 2021, he had started dating Wilson. Even though the couple reconciled after a 2-week period, Strickland never ended his new relationship. This agitated Armstrong, who made several threatening calls to Wilson. Strickland changed his lover's contact in his phone and deleted all text exchanges in an attempt to keep his affair a secret from his living girlfriend, turning their attention to Caitlin Armstrong. Detectives discovered footage of her car being driven by the victim's apartment complex on the day of the murder. While under interrogation, Armstrong refused to offer any explanation as to why she had been in that area and rejected the idea that her boyfriend was still seeing Wilson, referring to her only as that girl. Armstrong was apprehended on May 13, 2022, but ended up being released on a technicality, with police officers rushing to secure a valid warrant for her arrest. By the time they obtained it, the suspect had already fled the state. On May 17, 2022, with Armstrong still on the run, a 9mm gun registered under her name was retrieved from Strickland's residence and test-fired at a Texan laboratory, determining it was likely to be the same weapon used during the murder. As of the making of this video, Armstrong remains at large and police are still looking. Number 6. Taylor SHABUSINESS. On February 23, 2022, 24-year-old Wisconsin resident Taylor SHABUSINESS was arrested and charged with first-degree murder, mutilation of a corpse, and assault. Being on house arrest for an unrelated crime on the night in question, she removed the electronic monitoring device strapped to her ankle before leaving to visit her boyfriend, 25-year-old Shad Thorian. A warrant was issued to arrest SHABUSINESS for breaking the conditions of her release. At 3 a.m. that same night, Thorian's mother frantically dialed 911, telling dispatchers she had found her son's dismembered head in a bucket after being awakened by a loud noise. More body parts would be discovered in different areas of the mother's house, including Thorian's torso. When police arrived to arrest SHABUSINESS, they noticed she had dried blood on her clothes, and a search of her van revealed several body parts inside a locked box. While collecting evidence and taking testimonies, Green Bay police learned SHABUSINESS had been the last person to see STRACHAN alive. SHABUSINESS admitted to having visited the victim, but claimed she hadn't meant to hurt him. She stated that she had gone a bit crazy while they were being intimate, and things got out of hand. Her trial is set to start in October 2024. Her lawyers have already expressed SHABUSINESS will enter a plea of not guilty by reason of insanity, having struggled with mental health issues since childhood. Number 5. SHAYNA Hubers. Ryan Poston, a 29-year-old Kentucky resident, was on the brink of breaking up with SHAYNA Hubers, then 21, when she fatally shot him in their apartment on the night of October the 12th, 2012. Hubers had discovered that Poston had plans to go on a date with 2012's Miss USA second runner-up, Audrey Bolt, that same night, after reading several Facebook conversations. After confronting him about the upcoming date, Hubers then shot her boyfriend 6 times and would later claim she acted in self-defense due to Poston's alleged history of violence towards her. She was arrested on December the 20th, 2012 and was denied bail, remaining incarcerated for the duration of her trial. Hubers was declared guilty on April the 23rd, 2015, but her defense appealed the decision. A year later, the verdict was overturned due to one of the jurors having lied about his criminal record. In the state of Kentucky, people convicted of a felony are not allowed to serve as jurors. A second trial began on August the 8th, 2018, and the defense again attempted to describe the victim as an abusive partner. After only 5 hours of deliberation, the jury found SHAYNA Hubers guilty on all charges. She was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 20 years. Number 4. Galen Morris. On the night of June the 3rd, 2022, 26-year-old Galen Morris was seen intentionally hitting Andre Smith, also aged 26, with her car by several witnesses outside a bar in Indianapolis. Earlier that night, Morris tracked her boyfriend's whereabouts using a GPS tracker she had placed on his car, suspecting he might be cheating on her. When interrogated by police, she initially denied this accusation, claiming to have merely seen his car parked in front of the bar by chance, though she eventually recanted that claim. Running inside the bar, Morris grabbed an empty bottle and attempted to strike the woman Smith was talking to before the three of them were told to leave. While the unnamed woman remained inside, waiting for her food to be bagged up, Morris rushed outside and got into her car before backing over her boyfriend. According to witnesses, she pulled forward and repeated the maneuver 3 separate times. With her boyfriend trapped underneath her car, Morris then attempted to get back into the car to confront his date. Upon arriving at the scene, the police immediately arrested Morris. She claimed to have intended to hit the unnamed woman, but had accidentally run over Smith instead. Several witnesses had recorded the incident, providing police with ample evidence of Morris's actions. She was accused of vehicular homicide, with the case's prosecutor Marion County stating the defendant had turned her car into a weapon. Up to the recording of this video, a trial date has yet to be set. Number 3. Samantha Stewart. On the night of July 26, 2022, 32-year-old Texas resident Samantha Stewart frantically called 911, telling the operator her husband, Jeffrey Stewart, also 32, had been shot and killed by an intruder. Police responded immediately to the couple's home, and upon discovering Jeffrey's body, detectives were dispatched to the crime scene. Investigators began collecting evidence while detectives interviewed all available witnesses, including the victim's wife and other family members. Samantha signed an affidavit detailing the same version of events she had stated to the 911 operator, claiming she and her husband had been victims of a violent robbery, with the burglar forcing Jeffrey into the bedroom, loudly demanding money before fatally shooting him. Noticing inconsistencies in the woman's statement, Stewart was detained and a preliminary hearing was conducted. Judge Sarah Raspberry ordered an autopsy be conducted to further the investigation and set the defendant's bond at $500,000. Detectives continued to interrogate the suspect, with Stewart eventually recanting her earlier version of events and admitting to having shot her husband while he slept before making the 911 call. No trial date has been set up to the recording of this video. Number 2. Samantha Weiner. On the night of September 21st, 2020, police responded to a call about an ongoing robbery on Beach Boulevard, Florida. After being contacted by neighbors that shots had been fired, upon arriving at the scene, officers discovered the body of 20-year-old Ezekiel Trey Archuleta. He had been shot in the front yard of the home of 22-year-old Roman Stewart Jr., who claimed to have shot him in self-defense. During questioning, Stewart told police that his ex-girlfriend, Samantha Weiner, 18, had been seeking revenge ever since their breakup and that he suspected that she had managed to coax Archuleta into robbing his house. Sergeant Tonya Tatter, one of the officers assigned to the case, believes that Weiner's plotting started the chain of events that led to Archuleta ultimately being killed by the resident in the course of this attempted robbery. Stewart was arrested and charged for possession of a controlled substance with intention to use. No charges were pressed against him in relation to the murder. Meanwhile, Weiner was arrested for solicitation to commit a robbery, as well as second-degree murder for her part in Archuleta's death. Number 1. Stephanie Clark. On March the 5th, 2020, an argument between 31-year-old Stephanie Clark and her boyfriend, Don Juan Butler, 30, turned physical in Minnesota. Clark would later tell authorities this wasn't the first time Butler had been violent toward her. The couple had met on the dating app Plenty of Fish, and they moved in together soon after, along with Clark's young son. Butler had seen Clark talking with another man at the store, allegedly sending him into a jealous fit. After being punched in the stomach by Butler, Clark retrieved a double-barrel action revolver and fired at her boyfriend until she ran out of bullets, only to retrieve a handgun and shoot Butler one last time in the head. She then walked out of the apartment along with her son, knocked on a neighbor's door, and immediately confessed to her crime, stating, "He's dead." When the police arrived at the scene, Clark openly admitted to shooting Butler, telling detectives she just wanted him to stop talking. Her defense attorney, Eric Doolittle, argued it was a case of self-defense, stating Clark had shot her boyfriend as a direct result of Butler's violent and controlling behavior. Doolittle described the abuse suffered by his defendant, alleging Butler would tell her when she could go out, who she could talk to, and even where she could work, forcing Clark to quit her job in construction because it allowed her to be in contact with other men. On October the 14th, 2021, after only 4 hours of deliberation, the jury declared Clark guilty of second-degree murder. Thanks for watching. Would you rather go on a date with a femme fatale or go out to dinner with your ex and their mother-in-law? Let us know in the comments section below.